Hello everyone. So here's another tutorial for you. This one will be about texture parameters, which is I think a very important concept if you want to do renders with Artivolution, because it allows you to combine multiple textures according to the object. So what I have here is this little scene, and I'm going to texture these pencils, and of course they'll have different types of textures, like there will be paint along these faces, and here will be some wood texture, and here some graphite at the tip of the pencil, and also the back of the pencil you have this little dot of graphite and the rest wood. So I'm going to show you the textures that I've already made. Let me see. Let's get rid of this one for a minute. I'm going to get into that later. So I just have for the paint texture I just have one color, and actually it's this color with the same values. And the reason why I'm choosing this block, the HSV block, I will get into that later in the last part of this tutorial, why I do that. Okay, so this is just one color for the paint. The paint pencil backside is actually the texture that I made in the last tutorial, but the expression, let's see if you can see it. Yeah, here's the dot, which is a circle around the origin, which is described by this formula. Alright, and I also have these two textures separate, like the graphite and the wood texture. Also I have a little bit a little extra. This is a text. This is like an image which is quite big, and then in the middle there's a black text that says something like some text on a pencil or something. And as you can see, this is a gold texture. It is has a specularity of 0.5, and this is there's a specular color of yellow, so it will appear a little bit goldish. Excuse me. Alright, so now how to combine these textures onto this object. Let's select this object and go to Set Texture and Material. And normally you'll see this window when you assign a texture to it. And you can here select the type of texture you want, and in this case you want a layered texture. That means you can assign multiple textures to one object. So let's add all the textures that we want. Pencil paint, the backside, wood, graphite, and pencil text. Okay. Now with this you can do multiple things. You can mix them together in this panel if you want. But for now, let's choose overlay, bumps add, and I believe the bumps add means that the bump map that it has will overlay through all the different textures. So if another texture is on top, it will still display the bump map. I believe, I don't know for sure. Now you want to pay attention to the order in which these textures are arranged. You generally want the most common texture on top, because that will be the default texture that it has. In this case I want the paint to be on top. However, I want the text, of course, to overlay the paint, so the pencil text will be on top of that. And because the pencil text is for the most part transparent, it doesn't really matter that it's on top. Alright, so the next thing that you want to do is choose the texture parameters, and you can choose between face or vertex or a combination of the two. And I guess I'll go into the vertex texture parameters in a later tutorial, because it allows you to blend them together, but it doesn't look that good in my experience. So let's choose face texture parameters, which is the most easy to use, and you have to select that for every texture that you have in here. Alright. Okay. Next, you will have to map every texture in here to the object individually. So for this texture, it was a little bit difficult to find the right position because it's mostly transparent, and I've written it down somewhere here, so I've already done this. Let's please fill everything in. 1.8 minus 6.6 minus 5, and just rotate it around the axis by 90 degrees. Alright, so there's the text. I don't know if you can see it that well. It's very hard to see here as well, so but it took me some experimentation to get this right, so this might take a while to get it right. Stuff like that. Okay, pencil paint, of course this is one color, so it doesn't need to be mapped. Graphite, let's map this one. And this looks about right for what I want. Pencil wood, let's map this one as well. And I made this texture so this one is a 3D texture, in contrast to the other texture that I made with for the backside. And I made it so that it is a little bit stretched out in one direction, so it looks a little bit more like wood. So I just have to think a little bit of how to rotate this one. Let's see, it is stretched in the Z direction, so no. Yeah, this is the right direction. And I think the scaling looks about right. Yeah, looks good. Okay, this one is done. Now let's map the pencil backside. And of course you could have also done this with with the wood texture and the graphite texture separately, and then map them according to the texture parameters. But I wanted to show you the X and Y parameters in the texture, in the procedural texture editor. Let's see. Let's put this at 0. There we have the graphite coming. Yeah, there we go. Let's make this a little bit smaller. Looks about right. But of course the big advantage of this method with the X and Y parameters over the texture parameters is that the more you zoom in, the more smooth this will get, because it's done mathematically. And if you use texture parameters, then you will eventually see the edges of the mesh. So that's one little thing. Alright, so now this is all mapped, and now we can go on assigning them to the object. Let's choose. I have a different camera set up, so you can close up on the object. Okay, now let's open the object. Here's the pencil, and let's first choose these ones, these faces, and of course I want the paint texture to show up in this on these faces. So let's go to Face, Texture Parameters. Shortcut is Command P if you're on an Apple machine, and I'll be using that command in future. Okay, so here are the texture parameters. Here you can blend the textures together only for these faces. So that's very helpful. Okay, so on these faces we want the pencil text, of course, the pencil paint. We don't need graphite, we don't need pencil wood, we don't need backside. However, there's no transparency in the pencil paint, so the other textures don't show up anyway. But you know, I tend to use them. I tend to put them on 0 anyway. So now for this part, let's select these faces. Yeah, this one will be the wood texture. Texture parameters, Command P. Okay, no pencil text, no pencil paint, no pencil graphite. Pencil wood is the only one we're going to have here. And if you select this icon, you get to see a small preview. It doesn't, of course, show you the whole rendered texture, but it is something. Okay, now for the tip of the pencil, I want the graphite to show up, of course. So no wood, graphite. There we go. The backside. Everything down except for the backside texture. And there we go. So this one is now all done. Let's also do the other pencil. I have a different mesh for that because I wanted to show you something different. And I just realized I have, of course, also have to retexture this one as well. So let's do that real quick. I guess this will be a quite long tutorial. Actually no, let's do it different. Let's delete this one. Let's copy this. Oh, not so fast. God damn it. Yeah, like this. Okay, now let's see how this looks. Let's select camera 2 for this, so you have the close-up of the pencils. Let's increase the size. Maximum anti-aliasing. Ambient occlusion on. And in this case I have extra smoothness for global illumination for the background, because in this case it will get a little bit grainy otherwise. Because I have this HRI image attached. Right, so here are the pencils. As you can see, it has different textures now on different faces, so that's nice. And I'm going to cancel this because I wanted to show you another thing you can do with texture parameters, and that's to set the parameter actually inside of the texture itself. So let's go into the paint texture, and now we're going to get into why I chose this one over just the color, because you can edit these values. Like this is the U value, and this determines the color. So if you put this to 0.12, it will be yellow. And you can also mess around with things inside the texture by using texture parameters. So in that way you don't have to create a whole new texture just to change the specularity according to some place on the mesh or whatever. I'm going to show you how to do that. Go to values, parameter. Let's open it. Let's name it U parameter. Okay, here you can choose the minimum maximum values and the default value. Okay, the default value is set to 0, like it was with the color, it will be red. And let's attach it. And okay. Now for this pencil, for the second pencil, I'm going to going to the texture assignment window, and I'm looking at the pencil paint, and you see that there's a new parameter here. So this is for the whole texture, and this one is for the specific parameter inside of the texture. And let's also set this to face parameter. Okay, let's open the pencil object. And what I want to do now is create a little band of a different color from this pencil. So let's divide this one up here and here. I do this extra edge here because it's because of the smoothness of the mesh. Let's just select this. As you can see now, this is the edge this is the edge, but in the selection you see that the selection actually goes way over here. That's because the smoothness is on, and you combat that by getting an extra edge there. Okay, so now with this little band selected, go to face, texture parameters, and here you can see I have the pencil paint. It's the only texture that is selected, and you can adjust the hue. So let's put it to 12. As you can see, the color has changed. And there we go. Let's render this one. So yeah, this is a very great tool to assign multiple textures to an object, and you can arrange textures or parameters inside of textures according to the geometry of the object, which is very helpful. So I hope this tutorial was helpful for you guys, and have fun playing around with this, because this opens up a whole range of possibilities. So okay, this tutorial was quite a bit long. I'm going to end this right now. Have fun.